Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my day 7 React.js in-depth tutorial. This is my channel. If you see, I have uploaded 6 videos on React.js in-depth tutorial. So if you go to my video list, you will find some more videos on React.js crash course also. Like those who want to learn React.js without wasting much time, so these are the 5 videos on React.js crash course. Okay. So go through all these 5 videos, we will learn React.js in no time. If you want some in-depth knowledge, then go from here to up to day 6. And every day I will upload some new videos on React.js in-depth concept. So be with me, and React.js will be a cakewalk for all of you. Now those who want to learn Angular 8 also, you will find 8 videos in Angular 8. It covers complete concept of Angular 8 from beginners to advanced concept. And even you will find videos on CSS3. There are 3 videos on CSS3 concept where I covered the important CSS3 properties. So please go through that. Those who are interested to learn HTML5 also, you will find 4 videos on HTML5. So without wasting much time, let's jump into our today's session. Today is day 7 React.js in-depth tutorial. So this is the page. I modified my page a lot. So here today we learn the HTTP call, the AJAX call, by which we will connect to database and we will fetch the data from the server. How to make request to the server to fetch the data from the server. So we will learn all called operation in React.js. Okay, create, update, delete, post, everything we will learn. So this is a very simple application. If you see, so before going to the CRUD operation or AJAX call in React.js, so I will show you what I made some changes for the better look and feel. So if you see, I have added the navigation bar with 2 links, home and employees, and my employee is currently selected by default, and I have added a logo for my project. Even for the mobile devices, what I have done, so I have added the Hamburg. So if you see these 2 lines, if you click on that, you will get a side menu. Okay, so in the mobile screen, those menu in the navigation bar get hidden, and you will get those navigation bar here, and here logo also. If you click here, the side menu get closed. So these are some of the CSS I worked on. So even if you see, I have added a pop-up window. I will see if I will try to update. Wait for some time, so you will get this kind of pop-up window, updated successfully. So if you see, the name get updated. So everything I have done using vanilla CSS, no third-party library, and everything I have made a separate component. So we'll go through that component quickly without wasting much time. So in the component section, I have made it. So I will show you what is the extra folder I have made. I have created one asset folder. Within the asset folder, you will find image folder. Within the image, I have added some of the images. So success image, error image, employee logo that we are seeing, then dialog error, if there will be error. So all those kind of images you can add here in the asset folder. That's it. In the component section, I have created 3 new folders: logo, navigation, UI. First of all, we will go to the navigation tab. Navigation, you will find toolbar. Okay, so we'll open it. And I will open my main component, app.js. Okay, if you see what I have done here, I have added my toolbar and also the sidebar. Okay, below toolbar and sidebar I have the main content, so which is being shown below the toolbar. Okay, so you're getting right. Toolbar means this one, and sidebar means that sidebar in the mobile screen. Okay, so everything I made a different component, a separate standalone component. So in the toolbar, we'll look into the toolbar first. So in the toolbar, it's a functional component in which I have one header tag with some CSS. CSS I have added toolbar. We'll go to the toolbar CSS. This is the CSS for toolbar. And this is the CSS that I have taken from, frankly saying, some I have taken from the W3 school. You can say you can take that from W3 school. Although I have taken from different site, so you can take something from the W3 school, which is the best site for for the beginners, those who want to learn CSS. You will find a vanilla toolbar created using vanilla CSS. So these are the CSS that I have taken from some different site. So here I am given a media. I have used a media query also. Like it is saying when our screen width is less than 599 pixels, means in the mobile screen, I am hiding this. Hiding what? I am hiding the navigation menu. If you see this class, desktop only is for this navigation menu. Okay, so we'll go through these toolbar components one by one. I have a drawer toggle component. Okay, so drawer toggle component is, so we'll go to that component. What is that component? So where it is, we'll find here. Okay, the drawer toggle component is also a normal functional component. So it is used for creating those 3-line Hamburg icons. So in the mobile screen that you are seeing, right, in the, if you see this 3-line, this is being created by using this component drawer toggle. Only for creating this 3-line I have created a separate component. So everything I have modularized my code. So these are the 3 divs for creating the 3 underlines, and I have given some CSS properties. Okay, these are the CSS properties. And for the screen width of 600 pixels, means in the desktop, if the screen width is more than 600 pixels, that means if we can say in desktop we're hiding that this Hamburg icons. Okay, that is not needed. So this is the CSS I have used. If you see, you will find the prop also, prop.clicked. Why prop? What is the prop.clicked is doing? So we are passing this prop through toolbar. Okay, this is the clicked, then prop.drawer toggle clicked. So we'll find this prop again in the app component because we have used their toolbar. So this is the prop and this is the function. This is the reference of the function. So what we are doing in this function, we'll go here. So here I am just toggling my show side drawer boolean value. So initially this show side drawer value is in state which is false, because on the page load we don't want this to be displayed unless we are in mobile mode. Okay, and on click of that menu, that Hamburg icons, we want to call this function, and this function what is doing, it is making that show side drawer to true, from false to true. Okay, when show side drawer get true, okay, so in the toolbar we are passing this function. Then if you see in the toolbar, we are again passing that same function to the draw toggle component. In the draw toggle component we have on click event. We are calling that function. Now the show sidebar is true. So as show sidebar is true, so we have to display the side drawer. So this is the component which is used for creating the side navigation bar, side drawer. So we'll go to the side drawer also. Okay, so in side drawer, see again, So side drawer is being shown when we are passing this dot set dot show side drawer to true or false to the open property. So in the open property, if you see in the side drawer, then in open props, we are adding some CSS. If it is open, means if it is true, then we are adding class.open, which is used for showing the sidebar. So we are hiding and showing the sidebar on the basis of the CSS property. This is the open, which will show the sidebar, and this is the close property, which will close the sidebar, which will remove the sidebar. So initially we are attaching the side drawer and close property. Initially we don't want our sidebar to be shown. Okay. And when this props is true, we are replacing the close class with the open class. So on the open, we will find transform transport x is 0. So now the sidebar will be shown. So these are like I am playing with the transform properties on the x-axis. And if you see with the sidebar also, we have a backdrop. So what we want is when our sidebar get open, like when we will see the sidebar, on click of this hamburger icon we will get the sidebar. Also we need this backdrop. This is the backdrop, the gray area. So the backdrop is again, if you go to the backdrop, that also we can see. So everything I have made as simpler as possible in a separate component. You can keep that in a single component also of your choice. So this is the backdrop. So let me close some of these screens. Okay. This is the backdrop. Okay. This is the backdrop. So it's also a functional component in which we are showing only this div. When we are showing this div, when our show property is true, otherwise we are null. Means when the show property is true, then only we are getting the backdrop. If show property is false, we are not showing any backdrop. And to close this backdrop, we have an on-click function. Okay. So these are the backdrop CSS, only a small CSS. Okay. So this is how we are creating the toolbar, sidebar, the hamburger icons. Okay. So everything you will find in our container component, the main component, which contain the toolbar, side drawer, and the header component, employee component. So these header and employee component are within the main tag. So means this is the header, and if you go here, this is the header, and these are the employees component. Okay. These are within the main tag below our toolbar. Okay. And so this is what we can see. Even I have created a modal, the modal window, means the dialog box. For this we have within the UI folder we have a modal.js file. We'll go here, modal.css file. In modal we also find the backdrop, because when our modal is shown, like I will again update it to get the modal. When my modal is shown, this backdrop should appear. We should not be able to click anywhere. Once I click on the backdrop, it will go on. So that backdrop is also needed for when modal is being appeared. Again, backdrop takes show property. Like if it is true, then backdrop will be shown. And on click of backdrop, we are calling this function to close the backdrop. Then in the modal, we have a div. In the div, we are showing this.prop.children. So what is this prop.children? We will go in app, means wherever we will place the modal, within the modal we will place some content, whether it's a normal HTML or any component. So I am giving a success feedback component. and that's why we are getting a success feedback when our operation gets success. So this is a success feedback component I have created. You can press anything here within this. So whatever you press, you can retrieve that by using props.children. And for hiding and showing this modal, I have this inline CSS when our prop.show is true. When prop.show is true, backdrop is appeared as well as modal. When it is true, we are getting translate y is 0. When it is false, we are hiding it by using -100 VH. Same with the opacity. When it is true, we are showing it. When it is false, we are hiding it. So by using opacity and transform, we are hiding the modal dialog window on the basis of some condition. Okay. So same we are doing with the sidebar also, right? So if you go to the sidebar again, we will be clear one more time. If you go to the side drawer, so if you see here, in the side drawer also we are putting the close and open class on the basis of some condition. Means whether that hamburger icon is clicked or not. If it is clicked, then it should be shown. Means when it is shown, when the open class is applied, it means transcript x is 0. When it is hidden, when transcript x is -100%. We are playing with the x-axis. So this is the modal. In modal, it's also means it is a class component, and we will place wherever you want the modal, we will place there, and we will place any content within the modal so that it will be displayed. If you go to the success feedback, so I have created two feedback components, one success and error. Success is showing for success message when our Ajax call gets success, and failure for if our Ajax call gets failed. So we will see the success feedback first. So this is my success feedback.js file. It's also a functional component in which we have a div with a button, OK button, and I have given some CSS. Here I am showing some one image. So here the point to remember is like for showing the image, we cannot place the direct path here. We have to import the path, and I have placed that image in my asset folder. Okay, if you see the image is success.webp, this one. So you have to import that, and you have to put that in SRC as we are providing as for the other props. Okay, and for these for this we are getting a props.message. So if you see here, we are passing a message, the message content that we want to show, and a click handler for cancelling that. Like on click of OK button, we want to close that, we want to make the modal disappear. For that we are passing this function, modal cancel handler. So this is the function in which we are making success as false. So when success is true, we are showing when success is true, we are showing the modal window. When modal is shown, then backdrop is also shown. Okay, and on click of this, means on click of the OK button in success feedback, or on click of in the modal, if you see, if you go to the modal for dismissing the backdrop, also we are passing the same function. So this is the function in which we are making the success as false. Okay, so you can take any boolean variables, you can make true or false, and on the basis of true and false we will display the modal. When that boolean value is true, we have to show the modal as well as backdrop. When that boolean value is false, we have to cancel that modal and backdrop. That's it. And same with the side menu also. So in the side menu also we have taken one boolean value. When that hamburger icon is clicked, it becomes true. Initially it was false. When it is true, we are showing the side bar. See, when it is true, we are showing the sidebar. We are passing in open property. When it is false, like to make it false, we have to attach it to some, means whenever you want to close something, you have to attach it to a function. In that function, we will make that means boolean value to false again. That is the concept, simple concept. For displaying something, we have to pass the state property. For closing something, we have to pass the function, and in that function, we will make that state property to false again. That is the main concept. Okay. So this is all about like, so we are in success feedback. So here we are showing the message. If you see the CSS, so these are the CSS that I have taken from different sites. You can find that same CSS in W3 School also. Okay, so normal CSS for my div, for my button. So normal CSS for the better look and feel. And I have added an image. Same error feedback.js is also same as the success feedback. Only change is here we are using error logo, a different image. Everything is same. Okay. So this is what we have done in my project. So this is not the actual concept that we are targeting today. Today we learn how to call the HTTP, like how to fetch the data from the database. That is important. This and the UI stuff that I have shown, that you can do as for your like convenience, or you can use third-party library. So the main purpose of today's session is how we can connect to database and how we can fetch the data from the database. So for using the database, I am using the Firebase. So Firebase, for using the Firebase, we have to, Firebase is just like a MongoDB, you can say. The data is being stored in kind of node. So here is the Firebase. This is the URL firebase.google.com. You have to go there. Okay, it is taking some time. Okay. So in Firebase, so if you see, you have to first sign in. Once you sign in, you get your images or icon something. So after that, you have to click on the go to console. Go to console, click on the add project. A pop-up window will open. So here you can add your project and click on the continue. So once you click on the continue, your project get added to the Firebase. I have added my project already. This is the React employee app. Once your project get added, you will see the dashboard in Firebase. This is the dashboard. So I will go to my database section. So in the Firebase, like the advantage of using Firebase is you don't have to write the API endpoint. It's already being exposed. You just have to use it. It's very easy. So in Firebase, I have created some data. This is the project name that I have given while adding my project. And with this, under this project, I have created an employees node. So for creating any node, you have to click on this and give some name. That's it. Okay. Then click on the add button. Once again, give some name. For the node, you have to give the name. No value is required. Click on the add. Likewise, I have given employee's name here and click on the add button. Okay. Under the employees, if you see, I have 4 more nodes. These are the child node of employees. So each node is having the ID of employees. So for adding each node, what we have to do? Click on this. Give some name, like I have given employee 1, employee 2, so you have to give employee 1, 2, whatever it might be. After employee 1 and 2, click on this. You will give some value for that employee 1, like name is something, age is something, ID is something. Once you given, click on the add button. Okay, so same thing I have done, manually created. Now hard and fast rule. In the employee 1, I have created age, ID, name. So you can do that, like click on here, give some other property like address. and value of the address, and click on the add, then address will be added here. Okay. So currently in my application, if you see, there are 4 employees. 1, 2, let me scroll. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Last one is Govinda, then Sachin, then Ajay, then Anil. Okay. There are 4 employees. So if you want to create a new employee, I will do it here for you. Again, I will show it. Maybe you missed it. So for adding any employees, we have to add any employee within the employees node. So here, click on the plus symbol, give some name. I will give employee 5. Then don't click on the add because we need data under this node, under this child node. So click on the plus symbol. Here I am giving some key value pair. Name is, let any convenient name, Salman. Okay. Then click on the add. You will see I have employee 5 under which name Salman. But if you see for other employees we need name, ID and age. So this should be like these 3 properties should be present. So we will give ID, then emp, name ID, emp5. Then we have to give age also. Click on here. Age I will give 55. Click on the add. You see under the employee 5 we have age, ID and name. Okay. We will go here. If I will refresh my page, you will see nice looking loader along with backdrop. If you see, Salman is added here. In this way, you can create a new data in Firebase. Everything is a node. You can consider node as an object. This is an object having properties. Again, this is an object having property this. And we can say employee is an object having key this one, property this one. Okay. And then employee 2, key, then property. All these are properties of employees. And for this property means all these are keys for the employee. And for this key we have value this. Okay, you can consider everything as an object here. So this is how we can create a data in the database Firebase. So once you created, so I forgot to mention one thing, like I forgot to show you the spinner that I have created. So quickly I will show you the spinner. For spinner also I have created a component under the UI folder. We'll go to the spinner, spinner.js, then spinner module.js. Okay, so this is the CSS that I have used for spinner. You can find it from any website. I have taken this, like you can take this from W3 School also. So these are nice looking CSS. Okay, lot of CSS for spinner. And in the spinner.js is a functional component in which we need a backdrop, because when spinner is needed, backdrop is also needed. The backdrop always will take 2 properties. One is for showing. If it is true, it will be shown. On click of that, we will remove the backdrop as well as spinner. And here is the div class for the spinner. I am adding the loader class. The loader class is present here. Right? Yes. And this spinner means we have wherever we want to utilize, you can use that. I have used an app.js file. So here I have used my spinner. Like what I have done is here, like when my state is loading, means when my Ajax call is not completed, I have to show the spinner. Okay, in the show spinner we have to pass the loading. It should be true. When it is true, then only spinner will be shown. When it is false, spinner will not be shown. And when spinner will be shown, then backdrop is also needed. Okay, this is how the concept. or spinner. Close this. So we'll quickly back to our session. So we have seen how we can add the data in the Firebase. Okay, just focus on the HTTP calls. After adding the Firebase, what is next? If you see in Firebase, this is the API URL. You can say the base URL. If you do get request for on this URL, you will get an employee object having these keys. So if you click on this employee, you will get an URL in which you will get only those keys. So this is the URL. Okay, this is the API endpoint or API URL. So you don't have to create any API URL in Firebase. That's a cool feature. And you can say this is the base URL. If you want to fetch the data for employee 1, click on that, you will get the URL. So always this up to firebase.com, this is the base URL. Okay. Yeah. So we don't have to create any API for that. We just have to do get and post request. So as React is a JavaScript language, we can use the normal like the vanilla JavaScript AJAX call, like XML request. We can create our XML request object and we can call the HTTP just like in vanilla JavaScript. But that is a cumbersome process, so we'll use some third-party library, which behind the screen use the XML request object. For third-party library, you have to stop your server. You know how to stop your server? Just press Ctrl C and click on the Y. I don't want to stop my server. So after you stop your server, what you have to do? You have to install a command. The command for installing is npm install -save xcs. Sorry, AXIOS XCS. If I will open my package.json file, we'll find the XCS somewhere. Control F, AXIOS. So if you see XCS, this is the package that we need. So you have to do npm install -save XCS. So this will install the package as well as it will get like written in the package.json file for future installations. So after executing this command, what we have to do? Then once this command gets executed successfully, then run your server, start your server, npm start. So after that, what we have to do? So wherever I need the HTTP call in my app component, because here is the component where we will maintain the state and where we will fetch the data. So if you see in the app component, here I have made some changes. I have an employee initially, like up to day 6, this employee contains some array of objects. Now it's an empty because we will fetch from the database. So for fetching from the database, what we have to do? We have to create an instance of XCS. So I have created a file XCS employee.js file, in which you have to import XCS from XCS package that we have installed. XCS.create will create an instance and we will provide the base URL of your API. So this is my base URL. I have shown you. This is the base URL. After this, the next URL will get added. This is the base URL, means always it's just base URL means it's a starting URL. It always remains there for your server. And we have to export that instance also so that it will be reused. Okay. After creating an instance of XCS, what we have to do? Wherever the component you will need, you have to import that. Means wherever the component you need the HTTP call, import XCS from that file. So I have named XCS employees because I want to fetch the data for the employees. For different page, you can create different instance of XCS. And why I am creating in separate files? Because like sometimes I need to change the header, I need to add some token, token authentication for this employees API only, not for other APIs. So this is like, it is always be like recommendable to create a separate XCS file for each API call or for each screen or modules. Okay, so we have to import it wherever you need. I need the API call in here. Then we'll use the lifecycle method. We covered the lifecycle method in my day 5 class. Okay, so please go through that. So best method to call the side effect or API call, we have learned that during component creation is component did mount method. In this method we will call the AJAX call. So we have XCS which we have imported dot get, because we want to only fetch the data of the employee. So as we are using the Firebase store the data in form of object, or we can say in form of JSON. So you have to name employees.json, means the node name. The node name is employees. We want to fetch this data. Means all the employee belong to under this employees node. So you have to go to this node. So base URL we already configured in XCS. Next is like whatever the URL you want. Employees, the node name dot JSON. JSON is mandatory while using the Firebase. If you have some different database like Oracle, SQL, MongoDB, then you don't have to use .json. This is for the Firebase. Okay. So this way, this request will hit the Firebase. It will fetch the data. The data is returned from the Firebase in the form of promise. Then we have to subscribe to that promise, or we have to what we can say, means we have to subscribe or resolve. We can say resolve that promise, so that we will get the response contained in that promise. This is the response we are getting. So if you see in the console log, so let me inspect LX. I will refresh my page again. See, in console log you will find the response employees you are getting. There are 5 employees. It's an array of object, but actually you won't get this array of object. So if you see in the network tab, we'll see the API that is being called, and if you go to the preview section, you will find like this, means employee 1, then it's data. So this is like I told you, right? Everything here is an object. So we are fetching employees, which is an object. These are the keys of the object, and for this key value is this, and for this key value is this. So that's why in the response you are seeing the entire employee object is employees node is an object in which key is employee 1, 2, 3, 4. For this key value is this. For this key value is this. For this key value is this. But we are interested on only this object, means only in value, not on the properties of the object. For that, so we are from the response we are getting an entire object, but in this object we are interested for this property itself, not on the key. We are interested on value of the object, not on the key. For retrieving the value from the object, we have to do object.values, then response.data. Okay, because we are getting this in data properties. Okay, so we have to do response.data will give you that object, complete object having property employee 1, then value, employee 2 is the key, then its value. We are from that object we need only values. So this is the JavaScript function. So it will retrieve all the values from that object of values, it will retrieve all the values from that object and that will be assigned to an array. So finally we get an array in which we will get only the properties. So that's why we are seeing this is the array, only properties, not the key of the employee object. Okay. So this is the array that we are interested. So after you get the array, what we have to do? We have to call the set state. Here I have written set timeout purposefully to give some delay of 5 seconds to show the loader for demo purposes, because in real time we have a lot of data and that will take some time. So for that loader is necessary, but in my demo application, as we have less data, it is difficult to see the loader. That's just to make the loader functionality, just to show the loader concept, I have given some 5-second delay, but actually the set timeout is not needed at all. You will write directly this code under this line. Okay. So once we get the array of object, we need to call the set state, because we means unless and until you call the set state, then only the render method will be called and your way get updated. Initially this employees state is an empty array, we have seen. So employee is an empty array, we have seen. And in component read mount, once we call the API get method, we will get the response. We are extracting the value from there and we are assigning that array to the employees. Now the employees contain some data. And for showing the loader in between, means the process in between the request is being processed by the server and the response returned from the server, that time, in that time gap, I want to show the loader. For the loader, I have used the loading property in the state, which is initially false. Whenever we will call any API, we will make this loading property as true. When our API gets finished, then in the then block, we have to call the loading as false. Okay. Even like this API call also sometimes gives some error, like 500 server error, method not found error, this server error. So to handle that, we have a dot catch method, which is like chain to the then method. In catch method also, you have to close the loader. You have to make the loader as false. Okay. So this is how like we can write a get method using the Axios. So it will be like, if you have some different API, you have to write axios.get, then it's the API URL and HTTP, starting from HTTP or something like that. Then we will get the response. We will extract the response and we have to update our state so that it will be rendered. And whenever, like before executing this HTTP call, we have to make loader as true. When it get executed successfully, we have to make loader as false to close the loader. Even in the error, if we get, we need the loader to be disappears even when we will get the error. So loader is false in catch block also. Catch block is basically used for handling the error in the HTTP calls. Okay. And if you see, so let me close this. This is how we have seen the get method. We'll see the update method, the put method. Okay. So whenever I will type anything, my name will get updated. And just keep an eye on the network tab. There is no API call yet. I remove all the API calls so that we'll get the fresh API. It means type K here. See, on typing the key K, employee1.json API is being called. This is the API URL. And if you see, this is a put method. Wherever is form name. We need some files again. Okay. Maybe something again I will show it. Just a minute, don't worry. I missed that API endpoint call. Okay. Wait, see again. So let me type A also. See, when we type A, a page get called and it's a put method. Okay, and if you see, we are passing we are passing some payload with this payload. So that payload I want to say. So this is the payload. I am passing the entire object that I want to update. The age, ID and name. The name is updated and okay. And once it gets successfully updated, we will get in the success dialog window. Updated successfully. Then okay. Click of OK. The dialog window gets closed and you will see the updated value. How this is happening? So you know that we will go to the first of all we will go to the employee component. So employee access. In employee component, if you remember, like in our previous video, we have an input field on whatever you will type. If you change anything, then it will call this prop.change on change event, and we will go to this change prop. We'll got this change prop in the employee.js, where we are creating the employee component. So we are passing changed this.prop.change. So we are calling the method here, in which we are passing event, employee ID as well as index. And what is this method? So we can find this in an app component, because there we are using employees. The app component, if you see, here we are using employee. In onChanged, we are calling the name change handler. This is the method that is being used for update. Name change handler. We go to the name change handler. So here we are getting event ID and employee index. So up to this we have covered in our previous video. Like here we are retrieving the employee for which the user has updated on the basis of ID condition. Then once we get the employee object, we are creating a copy of employee object. We are updating that name with the user entered value of that object. Then we are creating copy of the employees array, and we are pushing that employee object into the employee array in that index. Up to this we have covered in our previous class. So what comes next? For today's session, what is newly added is URL employee/id.json. Why I have written here? Because this is like for our convenient, like this is on the basis structure of the Firebase. Now I like it's employees is a node, and these are the children node of employee, and this corresponding to the ID. For employee 1, if you see ID is employee 1, the node name is employee 1. For employee 4, ID is employee 4, node name is 4. So node name corresponding to the ID. And if you want to update this object, we have to go to this object. How we can go to this object? First base URL, then employee, then that object ID. So same thing we are doing here. Base URL already configured in HCF. We have to go to the employee, then ID. Like if we click on the first index, like if we so from the application, this is having index of 0, the first element. Then the second element is an index of 1, because these are in array. Third element is an index of 2. So on the basis of index, so like if you see, whatever the employees we have clicked, for the employees, whichever we have changed, we have to go to the employees node, then ID, because under employees in Firebase, the child node corresponding to the ID named as same as ID, so we have to go to that node. Once we go to that node, then only we can able to update. So this is the URL. So this URL is different for you for different database, for different service layer. whatever the URL you will get from the API team, you have to configure here. Then XCS, as it is for update, we have to use put method. Then URL, then the payload. I want to update the object because in my Firebase each is an object, so I want to update this one. So this is an object having 3 properties. So I am providing that update, this employee copy, in which we have updated the user enter file. So once that put method get updated, so what we have to do? So we have to refresh, like once it get updated in the database, we want to reflect that in our UI. How we can reflect that in our UI? Either in the response you send the resultant data and we will call dot set state and we will configure the resultant data to the employee, or you can call the component read mount again, which is used for fetching the database from the database, or you can use the this.setState property in which we are updating the new employee, and we are passing the message updated successful. This is the message that we are seeing in the dialog box, if you remember. Okay, and if success is true, means our dialog window will be shown. For I told you, like for dialog window, with the dialog window we need the backdrop also. For dialog window as well as backdrop we need some boolean value. If it is true, dialog window will be shown. False, dialog window is not shown. We are passing and we have updated the message also. Okay, so we'll go to the render method. Once that set state is called, then our render method is executed. In the render method, what it is doing, what it will do, it will call the model and success is true, so that's why model will be shown, and within the model we have success feedback, and in the success feedback we are passing the message. The message is that one, like updated successfully. So that's why we are getting the updated successfully model dialog box. And we are using the put method. This is how we can use the put method. So this is like for updation. Let's see the deletion. Okay, if you remember, like for deletion, what I have done, I have created a button, a delete button in the employee component, and on click I have attached the probe.click functions. Okay, what is this click probe? We'll go to the employee. If you see, for the click probe we are calling a function or another probe with some parameter, index and employee ID. We'll see this probe, where we'll see, you can see in app component, and in the app component we have to go to the employee. Okay, here employee. So we'll find in the click we are calling a function delete employee handler. We'll go to the delete employee handler function. Here what we are doing is, in delete employee handler, same thing, you have to construct the URL. Whatever node you want to delete, we have to go to that node, employee1, employee2.json, employee3.json. Once you get the URL, correct URL, then we have to call xcs.delete for deleting. Then we have to provide the URL. So already we have provided, we have gone to that node, so it will delete that corresponding node. Once it is deleted, what we have to do, we have to update our set state, or we can call the component read mount for getting the fresh data, or you can use the set state. The set state means, before set state I am removing that employee whichever the user has clicked by using the splice operator, and I am updating my state. And even I want to show the loader also. On means when the message is called, I am making loader as true, and when the message gets successfully executed, I am making loader as false. And when it is deleted successfully, I want to show the dialog box also. For that I am giving success as true for the dialog window. And in the dialog window we need some message for successfully deleted. So I am giving some content message deleted successfully. And if it gets failed, also we have to make the loader as false and success as false, because we don't want any dialog box as well as loader. Okay, we'll see that in action. So let me clear this. Yeah. So if I will delete this one, so you will see on click of this, we are getting a nice looking loader. Our state is getting updating. Because on delete I have shown you like you need loader. Once deleted successfully, we are getting a success dialog box with the message that we have passed deleted successfully. With the OK button and click of OK button, we will see the updated record. We won't see the searching now. We will see only 4 employees. 1, 2, 3. 1 employee is deleted. The employee 2 is deleted. So if you go here, let me refresh. One, two, three, four. Employee 3 is deleted. Okay. So we'll see employee 3. See, employee 3 is deleted. That's why it is called employee 3.json. And in the it's a delete method. If you are seeing, it's a delete method, and we are not passing any argument. We don't find any payload. And there is a successful. In the response, we will find nothing. Because in deleted, it is not returning anything. Okay, that's why like this is how the delete method works. And we are showing in the dialog window. And if you see this spinner concept, so that also is actually important. So I am saying, see, whenever I am calling any function, I am making state.loading as true. Like if you see in the delete, we are making the loading to true. When it is successful executed, we are making loading to false. So on the basis of loading, I am using the spinner. So in the render method, I have a if condition. I am saying if this.state.loading, if it is false, when negation is true, and we have some employees, then only we show the employee component. If this.loading is true, means still the Ajax call is going on, then we have to show the spinner. And these employees we are showing in the return statement. Okay, here. So when this .loading is true, we are showing the spinner. When it is false, we are showing the employees. Correct. So this is all related to the like we have seen get request, put request for updates and delete request. Likewise, we can also have post request if you want to create a new employee. Okay. So we'll see next is how we can handle this error, this Ajax error. See, for handling the error, we have a catch block. Just chaining to the then block of the promise, we have a catch block in which we can handle the error. We can give an alert message to the user if we get some error. And this catch implementation we have to do in all places. So instead of that, we will do some global error handling by using interceptor concept. Yeah, you heard it right. We'll see the interceptor concept. Don't worry, it's not difficult topic. Although its name like seems like difficult, but it is not actually difficult. So interceptor concept, but it is an important concept. Okay. So for the interceptor, what I have done, I have created a HOC folder. HOC is a higher order component. I named the HOC, you can name it anything. So here we will see some higher order component. What do you mean by higher order component? If any component is wrapping another component, then that component is called the higher order component. And that higher order component is not used for maintaining any state. So higher order component, higher order component also can maintain the state. But higher order component is a component which is used for wrapping another component. That's it. So I have created a component with error handler.js file. So it's a functional component, and if you see with error handler.js file we have used in app.js. So first of all we have to import that with error handler here. Then there is nothing to do with this, just scroll down. We have to wrap app component within the with error handler. Then we have to pass the XCS also, because we will use the interceptor concept of HTTP. That's why XCS is needed. If you don't have to use the XCS in the interceptor concept, you don't have to pass XCS. So it's wrapping the app component. So that's why with error handler is a higher order component. So with error handler component, it's a functional component which received at least one parameter. So wrapped component is mandatory. It will receive the wrapped component parameter. Then this is the component which it is wrapping. So currently it is wrapping app component. So this wrapped component contains app, and this is XCS. And in this functional component we are returning another component, class extends component. Okay, so in this we are returning another component in which we are maintaining the state, having error as null. Then we have a component will mount function in which we will add the interceptor. So we can add the interceptor by this way: access.interceptor.request.queue. The interceptor is used for the request. So interceptor is like a middleware. Whenever any request goes from browser to the server, it goes through the interceptor. Browser, then interceptor. In interceptor we can add the token to the request, we can change the header, any manipulation to the request we can do in interceptor. Then it will feed the server. When the server sends the response, it again comes through the interceptor. In interceptor again we can manipulate the response. Then the response will come from the interceptor to browser. The request goes from browser to interceptor to server. Response comes from the server to interceptor to browser to the client. Okay. So it's a middleware. So for creating the request interceptor, we have to use interceptor.request.use. It takes a request, takes a function having a request parameter. In request parameter we have to set the state error as null, because in request we don't get any error, and we have to return that request. If you want to return the request, our request will be blocked and it won't send to the server. So return request is a must. Then we have to store that interceptor in some variable. Why this variable is needed? For cleanup operation. So we'll see that also. Similarly, for response also we need interceptor, and it takes a response parameter as well as error parameter. In response we will get the server side error, in which we have to update that error state. Then whatever the error that will get, you have to eject. We have to eject that error. So promise.reject, then error. What is the use of this? This error will be sent back to the component in which we are calling the AJAX call. So we are passing XCS, and this XCS, whatever we are passing, this XCS is being defined in app.js file. So if there will be any error in any function and we are throwing that error by using promise.reject, it will comes to the catch block. So promise.reject is important. If you won't throw there, it won't come to the catch block. It will go to the then block. So this is important. Okay. Here return request is important. Here returning promise.reject error is important. Also we have to return the response. So it's a single line. That's why we don't want to. There is no need of writing the return statement. It is returning the response by default. So in the component will unmount when our component is destroyed, when this wrapper is destroyed. When this wrapper is destroyed, when our app component is destroyed, because we are wrapping around the app component. Okay. When this app component will destroy, what we want to do, we want to remove that interceptor. For removing the interceptor, we have to use eject for request. For response also eject. then we have to pass that interceptor variable. Why this is needed? Once our operation gets finished, why we need this interceptor? Just eject that. Okay, otherwise we will have lot of interceptors in our file. In our application, and unnecessarily will lead to a leakage of memory. Okay. Then in this wrapper class or higher order component, what I am doing? First of all, we will come to this. In the render statement, we have a return. Then we are writing this one wrapped. Then we are passing the props. So what is this? Wrapped component means app. Then we are passing the props of that app component. So it means it will call the render method of the app component or the component whichever it has wrapped. Then we have a modal window here. In the modal window, we are showing the error feedback because we want to give some error message to the user. So this modal is being shown. So for showing the modal, we need some boolean value as usual. When the error is not null, we have to show the modal. That's why we have to set the error here, the response. When it is not null, modal is being shown. And for closing the modal, we have a function. In this function, if you see, we are making the error to null. Okay. Then here we are in the modal, we are showing the error feedback and we are passing some message. Error.message. If you see in the this.state.error, in the response, we are storing the error update that we have received, and that error update has message property. So this is the message that we want to show to the user. Again, for closing the modal or for closing that error feedback, we need a same function as the function for the modal closure. So this function is called when you click on the OK button in the error dialog box. Okay. This is the error feedback, and we have seen already how it looks error feedback. If you want to see once again, I will show you. This is the error feedback.js file, and this is the error feedback.module.css file. Okay. Correct. And in error feedback.js file, we have a button. On click of button, we are calling the click props for closing that window. So that's why we are passing here in the click, we are passing that function which is used for closing the modal by making the error as null. That's it. Let's see the error by intentionally introducing the error. How we can do in the delete itself. Let's remove the JSON. We will get the error automatically. Now the path of the URL is incorrect. We'll get the error once we're trying to delete. Let me refresh. It's not compiled yet. My man, it is taking a lot of time. Let me stop, then start again. Okay, just wait for a couple of minutes. We'll see that error concept in action. Okay, this is how we can deal with our React.js Ajax call by using the XCS library. And here we can see the interceptor. And interceptor, we have to check that interceptor also in will learn more. That's why we have to, for utilizing this lifecycle method, we have to return a component, class component from this wrapper. and this wrapper, what it is doing, it is displaying that component whichever it's wrapped, along with it is displaying the modal window containing the error that we got from the server. So we have intentionally added some errors in the delete window. Okay. So if now I will try to delete, so I will try to delete this one. So it will call the API, but we are getting network error because it is failed. If we see our network tab, okay, let me remove this again. On click of delete, see this. I want to delete this one, but we don't have we forgot to add .json. That's why our URL is incorrect. That's why we are getting some error. Okay, so no response. We are getting error. So that's why when we get some error, we are displaying the error message. So this network error comes from the server error. So we are printing the error message here also. Okay, in the delete catch block, if you see app.js file, in the catch block of delete method, I printed that error. Why we are getting this error? Because why this catch block is executed? Because we are returning promise.eject. That's why it is important to return. Okay. And error.message, we are getting the message. On click of OK button, we are removing the dialog window as well as backdrop. This is the complete application with Ajax along with Firebase. So thank you guys for watching. I guess everything is clear regarding the server connection and fetching of data from database. In our next video, we'll meet again with some new concept on React.js. Till then, please stay tuned with me. Goodbye.